Good morning, good morning. It is January 7th, 2019, and our first story is brought to you by The Shepherd. She doesn't ask for much, just about 90% of my time. We can negotiate that down to 30%, but it's a little tough. So let's go see what she's concerned about. So this is what The Shepherd was concerned about this morning. From Fox News, published this morning, more than 160 German Shepherds rescued from Georgia's property in deplorable conditions. Now, none of these photos that Fox has brought to us are tragic, but they are sad. And this is by Nicole Dara for Fox News. More than 160 German Shepherds were removed from a property in Georgia after animal rescuers discovered them living in deplorable, unsanitary conditions. The dogs found in Candler County's Metter on Thursday, Metter must be a town, on Thursday ranged in age and had varying health statuses according to the Candler County Sheriff's Office. And I have to tell you, this picture of this dog center, she appears to be a mix because she's only sporting tan. She could be a silver sable, but she doesn't look like one. This picture, I've seen this expression on my dog's face when she's unhappy, but never this sad. A total of 167 dogs were found. 163 of them were rescued by Atlanta Humane Society. 3 were humanely euthanized and 1 dog escaped, officials wrote on Facebook. The nonprofit organization stated online that it had evaluated the area described as extremely neglectful with the help of the sheriff's office and provided care for the most medically in need animals. Humane Society workers returned on Friday to continue offering medical care and assistance to these dogs. These look in not too bad a condition in the place where they were relocated. And an owner who has not been publicly identified was arrested and faced animal cruelty charges, according to the Humane Society. Rescuers said the dogs would receive medical care before being put up for adoption. This was posted this morning. If you are a GSD owner or a GSD handler, please consider, if you are in the Georgia area, adopting one of these dogs or sponsoring one of these dogs' care until they are adopted. 163 dogs is a lot of dogs. And these are amazing dogs, but they are one owner dogs, and rehabilitation of them from what they previously knew as their life to a family pet who is reliable and behaves well around other dogs and around human beings is a long process. Don't be fooled by the trainers online who give you 20 minutes of how to train your dog to do something. Dog training is an everyday process. And if you don't refresh their memory on certain tasks, they'll forget. So the German Shepherd and I would like for you to consider helping these dogs. $10 will buy dog food for a GSD, a full-grown GSD, for about a week to 10 days. Mine is a 75-pound female. She's 5 years old, and she eats about 4 cups of food a day, plus maybe a half cup or so of treats. So $10 to help out this overwhelming rescue of this many dogs, 163 dogs, would really help them out. I have not been in contact with this shelter. I don't know where they're located because Fox did not report that, but you can find out how to donate by just contacting the Atlanta, Georgia Humane Society. Look it up online. I would give you links in the show notes, but we have a full roster today, so let's move on. Our next story, whoops, sorry about that. Our next story comes from Fox News as well. Trump declaration of national emergency still possible over crisis at border. And this is by Frank Miles of Fox News. And everything we present in our broadcasts that is produced by another is shown under the Fair Use Doctrine, Title 17, Section 107, for the purpose of education, news, information, and discussion. So let's hear what the president had to say. Let me double check my volume first, because I have to sometimes fiddle with it. Okay, we're good.
So we've been in touch with a lot of people, and I informed my folks to say that we'll build a steel barrier. Steel. It'll be made out of steel. It'll be less obtrusive and it'll be stronger. But it'll be less obtrusive, stronger, and we're able to use our great companies to make it by using steel. So we're going to be doing a steel barrier, and that gives us great strength at the border. I would consider DACA, but I think we complicate it. I'd rather have the Supreme Court rule and then work with the Democrats on DACA. I want to help with DACA, but I'd rather have this, it's going to be before the Supreme Court very soon. And rather than doing something with DACA now, frankly, I'd rather work with the Democrats. Let the Supreme Court rule first. No, we're looking at a national emergency because we have a national emergency. Just read the papers. We have a crisis at the border of drugs, of human beings being trafficked all over the world. They're coming through. And we have an absolute crisis, and of criminals and gang members coming through. It is national security. It's a national emergency. We'll be letting you know fairly soon.
If you were to declare a national emergency, how would you make it a law? Where would the money
Well, we have a lot of different ways. I'm not going to get into that. I'm just saying we are looking at it very strongly, but hopefully we can do it this way. And as I told you, it's going to be a steel border, and that's going to give us great strength. They don't like concrete, so we'll give them steel. Steel is fine. Steel is actually more expensive than concrete, but it'll look beautiful, and it's very strong. It's actually stronger. I think they will make an adjustment because they want to see the border taken care of. You know, government workers want to see the border taken care of. It affects them very dearly. They love our country, and they want to make sure that we have a strong border. Say it? I don't know, Democrats or not. Probably, in this case, a lot of them are Democrats. You have a lot of Republicans, too. But regardless, I mean, that's the way it is. Those people are great Americans. They're great patriots. They want to make sure we have a strong border. Very important.
All right, sorry about that. My phone notification went off, which means I have email sitting in my box. Let's move on. From the Federalist Papers, fellow Socialist supporter tells Ocasio Cortez to shut up and work. It has been a rough weekend for New York Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She made herself look ridiculous as in an interview with Anderson Cooper on 60 Minutes. In the interview, she proposed 70% tax rate, and Americans dragged her for it. Then she called President Trump a racist, and the White House dragged her for it. And in an op-ed piece for the New York Post, one of her fellow socialists and supporters, Christopher Dale, told her it was time for her to shut her mouth. I admire Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who at 29 became the youngest woman ever elected to Congress. She has spoken truth to power by seizing it. Like AOC, I am also a Bernie Sanders voting socialist, which means that I support her effort to push the Democrats to the populist left where they belong. And we'll just skip the rest of his comments and go down to the concluding paragraph. Compare AOC with Sanders. The Vermont socialists worked doggedly to shift Democrats towards economic populism, not least by having the $15 minimum wage adopted into the party's platform. He snatched victory from electoral defeat. AOC must emulate her elder in another fashion, getting to work. I can't disagree with his conclusion, although some of his supporting points I vehemently disagree with. Let's keep going. From the Free Press on January 3rd, now is the time to begin impeachment proceedings against President Trump. And this is an op-ed piece by Rashida Tlaib and John Bonifaz. President Trump is a direct and serious threat to our country on an almost daily basis. He attacks our Constitution, our democracy, full stop. We don't need to read anything else. Although, as always, links in the show notes. We are not a constitutional democracy. We are a constitutional republic. Clearly, this woman either doesn't know or doesn't care what government she's serving, and we've already seen that she does not support the Constitution by calling for impeachment on her first day in office in a vulgar manner. So, continuing on with that story, you may recall, if you've been following along, that Halieus Media, let me scroll down our notes, to the Michigan section. Michiganders, pay attention. Halieus Media also on January 3rd produced this, the 116th House update, no wall, and a foul-mouthed Detroit representative. This was our broadcast. We had not seen the Free Press article that she produced. It's probably a good thing we hadn't. So let's look at what I said on behalf of Halieus Media. The title says it all. However, we hear from Speaker Pelosi that she will accept $1 in funding option for the wall. Send her $1 in addition to contributing to Brian Kolfage's GoFundMe campaign and ask for a signature return postal receipt. Ocasio-Cortez got a run when questioned regarding her salary during the shutdown, which, by the way, has passed in ownership from Senator Schumer to Speaker Pelosi. You own it now, Madam Speaker. And then we gave our links, as we always do, and we're going to scroll past all this stuff to the comments. This is our featured comment for the week. Mr. Johnson would have been on the 4th, said, the filthy-mouthed Muslim Congresswoman should at the very least be censured by Congress for her anti-Trump, anti-American gangsta talk and what it infers. Key phrase there. Secondly, Michigan should have the guts to recall her through a statewide referendum using paper ballots. And just by the way, Michigan uses paper ballots, but they are read by a Scantron, so it's no different. The process is no different than when you go, take a test in college or even high school uses it now, and you fill in the little circles that drive you crazy and make you blind, but then it's fed into a Scantron and read electronically. And we have had virtually no problems with that system, and please God, and the new governor and the new state legislators, let it never change. If Michigan refuses to do so, its border states should actively boycott all goods and services produced or supplied by and through Michigan until she is recalled. Why does hate speech not apply to this cultist woman? Why is she exempted from being put on the political terror list? That's an awesome question. She should be done. There goes the police scanner. Sorry about all the extra noise. Why is she exempted from being put on the potential terrorist list? She should be dealt with according to the rule of law and according to the demands of decency and support for the president that true Americans understand. Hear, hear. This guy got a thumbs up from me. He got a favorite comment, and he got a comment from me. You'll get no argument from me. If the Great Lakes Compact states decide your course of action is doable, I'll publicly support it. I am ashamed of Michiganders from the rest of the state cannot overcome the behemoth that is the Tri-County area. In our state, if you look at your right hand, look at the palm of your right hand, and where the big knuckle of your thumb is, that's the Tri-County area. It's Wayne County, which is Detroit, which is District 13, is in Wayne County, and that's her district. It's also Oakland and Macomb County, and Macomb County has been staunchly Republican. However, in the last election, they squeaked through by the skin of their teeth because their county politics are changing. Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb County, this is on you. You don't represent the rest of the state. And then I finished my comment now that I've ranted a little bit. For your information, unless you tell me no, I'd like to screen cap your comment for a future broadcast. Thanks for stopping in. And Mr. Johnson replied to me, feel free to do a screen cap, and thanks for your labors. I'm subscribing now. Thank you so much, Mr. Johnson. Again, it's very much appreciated, and looking forward to your insights in the future. Best wishes from Halieus Media. So let's explore that option. I'd like to thank a user on Mumbleit who I am not familiar with, but I will be subscribing to later on today after all this, broadcasting and uploading and processing and everything. When I get back to Mumbleit, I will be subscribing to him and thanking him for bringing us this. We the People, this is a vehicle for people to petition the White House. So it's Petitions.whitehouse.gov. Direct link is in the show notes. And the petition is entitled The Removal of Rashida Tlaib, Democrat from Michigan, from office due to the inappropriate and unstable actions becoming of a Congresswoman. Little awkwardly titled, but you get the point. And this is created by RL on January 4th. So one day after both Ms. Tlaib with her foul-mouthed declarations and Halieus Media with our counter publication, this guy creates a petition. It has 63,384 signatures out of a 100,000 goal. Due to Rashida Tlaib's actions and profanity, she is unfit to be a congresswoman. Her rude display and lack of respect for our sitting president was uncalled for. Her immediate removal from her seat is just and warranted. Due to her hatred towards our president, I feel she is a national security threat. We'll be poking around a little bit in the coming days to find out just who her ties are. I've already done some of that. So then you have an opportunity to sign the petition and an explanation of the terms of participation and privacy policy, how to create a signature or how to create a petition, gather signatures. Your requirement is to get 100,000 signatures in 30 days, and you will get an official update from the White House within 60 days after that. And there are other petitions. Now, let me say this. I applaud this man's effort. And the president does have the option. We would call this the nuclear option relative to procedures and protocols with regard to the Congress. The president does have the option to remove a seated person either from the House or the Senate. But that's the last resort. That's the nuclear option. And frankly, while, again, I applaud this man's effort, this is 3 or 4 steps down the road. So let's find out what the first step is. And for that, we're going to Ballotpedia, which is an organization that is public information for citizens on how to do things and how to interact with government. So this section is based on Michigan legislative Michigan law, and it is accurate as far as I can tell. There was one update that I saw that changed on like December 28th or something, and I don't know what that is because I didn't research it. I was researching this recall referendum suggestion by Mr. Johnson. So at any rate, it's relatively accurate. We can say that. The citizens of Michigan are granted the authority to perform a recall election by Section 8 of Article 2 of the Michigan Constitution. Recall process whereby voters can remove an elected official from office prior to the end of his or her term by a special election. All elected officials in the state are subject to recall except judges of courts of record. This right of recall was created in 1908 in Michigan and Oregon, which also created a right of recall in 1908, and the first 2 states to adopt statewide recall procedures. And then it goes on to give you a layman's understanding of the recall process and the signature requirements and all that stuff. And it's based on Michigan election law, and this is a PDF excerpt which gives you the drill down, because the way the website, as you will see in a minute, the way the website is laid out, it's laid out statute by statute by statute by statute. So if not unlike the way Cornell law is laid out for the federal Constitution. So if there's an amendment or a change to something in one paragraph, it'll refer to the originating paragraph that's being changed, and it's like a, spider web. You're jumping all over the place trying to find out what is the actual information. So this PDF is a drill down, and it gives you who is subject to recall, the time of filing recall petition, performance of duties until the result of the recall is certified in the first paragraph. Then it goes down to requirements, submission of board of state canvassers, determination that for the reason of recall and its factual and sufficient clarity. It used to be, this is one of the things that was changed, it used to be it just had to be sufficiently clear why you wanted this person recalled. Now it has to be based in fact. And for that you have to cite where you got the information in the long form as a proof. And there is a proof for, other than her vulgar statements, there is a proof that she ran one of her platform planks that she ran on. She immediately reversed as soon as she got into office. Her position flip-flopped. So I don't have that reference of that flip-flop at my fingers. I am not in the Tri-County area. I am way outside of her district. So I will bring that to you as a follow-up here in the next day or two, the next time we discuss this. So if the citizens of Michigan really are as disgusted as Mr. Johnson, as I am, as people across the country say they are, then Michiganders would do well to at least start this process. Now, there's another provision that says that seated congresspeople cannot be they cannot be recalled from their seat during the first 6 months of their term or the last 6 months of their term. So she began her term on January 3rd, 2019. The very earliest a petition can be filed, a request for a petition can be filed is June 4th. Don't do it on June 3rd if you're gonna jump on this. Do it on June 4th. That would be the 181st day, and you're in the clear legally. So let's go to the actual statutes. This is a PDF. It will be in the show notes. The actual statutes, I hate Michigan's websites. They're terrible, and I'm sorry that they're terrible. This one looks like it's, was created in 1996, but whatever. This is the code 168.961 Michigan Election Law Excerpt Act of 116 of 1954. Now, you can easily remember this. The act you're looking for, Michiganders, is Act 116. What's the number of our federal, Congress? Number 116. It's the 116th Congress. Coincidentally, and we like those kinds of coincidence. So this 116.961 goes through the recall petition, the filing, the receipt, the duties of the filing official. Any citizen can do this. Duties of city or township clerk, certification, duties of the village clerk, and use of qualified voter file. All of it is laid out here. Within 7 days after a recall petition is filed, the filing official with whom the recall petition was filed shall examine the recall petition. The filing official shall determine if the recall petition is in proper form and shall determine the number of signatures of the recall petition. In other words, there's a specific threshold you have to meet. It's not, 10% of the Michigan population. It's a specific number, and it changes depending on the subject or depending on the number of votes. In determining the number of signatures, the filing official cannot count signatures on a recall petition sheet if one or more of the following apply. This is super important. The execution of the certificate of the circular is not in compliance with this act. So first of all, you have to get all your ducks in a row. You just do. And a careful reading of this. Take notes. make bullet points, get all your ducks in order, or geese in the case of my lake. The heading of the recall petition sheet is improperly completed, and there are forms for this that you can download. C, the reason for recall are different than those determined under Section 951A by the Board of State Canvassers or the Michigan Court of Appeals, or under Section 952 by the Board of County Election Commissioners or the Circuit Court, to be factual and sufficient clarity to enable the officer whose recall is sought and the electors to identify a course of conduct which is the basis for this recall. And it goes on and on and on. Please thoroughly understand what you're getting into. Should you decide to follow this course of action. And if you are a signator, if somebody initiates this position or this petition and goes and does all this stuff, please, before you sign the petition, make sure that they are legit and they are certified by the Secretary of State to circulate the petition, that there are no mistakes and no errors. In Michigan, pay for signature is allowed. So if you run across somebody with a hunk of cardboard and a rubber band around, 20 copies of a petition for your signature, that's legal in Michigan. It's annoying. I don't like it personally, but it's legal. So it's up to you to determine if the person asking you to sign a petition of any description, but this in particular is very important. It's up to you to determine if that heading is certified by the Secretary of State and reads properly. All right. Well, we are now at 32 minutes, 3 seconds. And is this last, Jordy? No, this is the Red Sea project that we haven't not gotten to yet. All right, let's go to the desk. And that is a wrap for today. We are over our time limit, but what we discussed at the beginning and end of this broadcast is very important. While I was doing my check to make sure that all the ducks were in a row for this broadcast and doing a run through, I checked my Facebook page, and it seems that the millennials just don't get it. They don't understand the risk at the southern border. They think apparently that the drugs being smuggled into the United States over our non-existent border for miles and miles and miles is of no consequence. And yet, these same people have seen or know of people who have overdosed and end up in the hospital. How can you be so blasé, millennials, when you've witnessed your friends, your relatives, your cousins in such dire straits? With regard to recall efforts for our 13th District Congresswoman in Michigan, as far as I'm concerned, it cannot happen soon enough. And if somebody steps up to the plate, Halieus Media will publicly support that effort if the petition is properly written and certified by the Secretary of State. I personally am not in a position to initiate this effort. I live in a tiny town, far outside of the major metropolitan areas where this petition has the potential to grow the most signature base. Remember, first 6 months, a petition cannot be filed to recall Rashida Tlaib or any other official at the federal level. Nevertheless, You can find me on mumbleit.com as Halieus Media. You can find me in the comment section on YouTube. We do not have our own brand named channel. You have to actually search for us, but we're easily found. We have no community guideline strikes, no copyright strikes, although we occasionally get a copyright claim. But since we make no money, you know, what's the point of their making a copyright claim? I'm pig trailing. You can also find Halieus Media on Twitter as at JN1410 John 1410. Please reach out to us, and we will be reaching out to Michigan GOP with this broadcast specifically. So thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it. The snow removal guy is out there banking up the snow about 3 feet short of the actual car barriers, pretty much negating the usefulness of about, 3 or 4 car parking spots per push. Not sure why he does that, and that's a discussion for another broadcast. So, until we see you again for the Shepherd and I, we hope you have a fantastic day. Take care. See you soon.